Your home for all things country music around the globe. Thanks for being part of our country music family. The family grows by the day.
What's up, y'all? It's Tyler Hubbard.
I put them on in the car first thing.
It's literally my favorite thing.
They're just fantastic.
Hey, this is Lainey Wilson.
Just real country music.
It's always on.
That's right here on the Big 615 on TuneIn.
Always.
Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Home to the Big 12 Nation.
Okay, check it out. It's Santana again, stepping out. One of them brand new big boy toys. I do big boy things.
Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Your source for all things Big 12. College football is streaming on TuneIn.
TuneIn and college football go hand in hand.
Balls out, touchdown!
College football is on TuneIn.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and listen to live play-by-play coverage.
Throws, it's intercepted. Picked off, and this might be a touchdown.
Plus, TuneIn Premium
All right.
subscribers can enjoy
I might need to be
commercial-free
permanently
music,
muted.
news, and sports talk, so you can get back to the action faster.
Williams keeps it. First down, touchdown.
Just search Premium or tell your device, listen to sports on TuneIn to get in the game.
This is Coach Satterfield from University of Cincinnati, and you're listening to Big 12 Radio exclusively on TuneIn.
Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8A to 11A Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
It is a Fanatic Friday here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Welcome in. You're listening to us exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us via Big 12 Studios. R.A. Timken, James Westling, Taman Turner on the controls. We will have Pete Nakos, the On3 reporter, talking transfer portal updates, college football coaching carousel here in about 20 minutes. Spencer Linton from BYU TV is going to join us to continue our Utah BYU preview. We'll preview Baylor at TCU. We're talking football with our weekly Pick'em segment today. We're also talking a little basketball.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What? You brought a basketball to the studio?
I brought a basketball. It's
Sorry,
one of
I'm
those,
confused. You just threw a basketball at me, and I didn't expect it.
Yeah, well, you caught it, so that's good. Nobody's coffee spilled. We brought a prop today because we're talking basketball. The Big 12 preseason basketball poll is out. Preseason team has been announced.
You forgot the hoop.
Forgot the basketball goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this one we can really just practice our ball handling skills. It's one of those Nerf balls that bounces like an actual basketball, which has really changed our lives in the Westling household because the kids can play basketball indoors and we don't hear a thing.
That's great. You're saying previously they had been bouncing the basketball in the house?
Oh, yeah, they'll bounce anything. Anything. As much noise as possible. That's what they're all about. So before we get into all that, Ari, what's going on? You brought some muffins yesterday. You seem, really, I would say tense. Today.
Isn't that every day? What's different about that today? No, I mean, look, there were so many positives heading into this video exploration that we were going to do with Big 12 Radio. As we've discussed, Big 12 Radio for 5 years existed on just radio and 2 different platforms. And then this great partnership that came together between Raycom and TuneIn and the Big 12 has led us to this situation, which I was super excited about. So many positives. I think with most things in life, like there's always unintended consequences.
There's pros and cons.
There is the butterfly effect of it all. And now my family is watching every day.
Uh-oh.
So one of the unintended consequences of us now being on video is, like, I used to do the show in relative secrecy for my family, meaning, like, they never tuned in. We could basically talk about anything.
Right.
And it was like that for a long time. And now that's not the case anymore. So, like, on Monday's show, or what was it? No, that was Wednesday's show, whatever it was, where I basically outed to my kids that my wife and I had gone to the state fair. Mm-hmm. Like, my kids are still talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can we go to the state fair now twice next year? 3 times, and she didn't take us. And it's like, what? How did this? Just one of the unintended consequences. One of the other unintended consequences, I've now become a muffin delivery man. That's now a big role of mine here.
Outside of this program?
No, within this program.
In this program.
I'm a breakfast cookie muffin delivery man.
Yes,
Anything my wife bakes up, I've got to bring to the studio. And
so that was her idea, not your idea.
Well, it was.
I mean, you're basically an Amazon Prime delivery man. Bringing us muffins, breakfast bars.
Muffins were very good.
I bring a basketball.
I like to think of myself as an Uber Eats, maybe a DoorDash. A little bit more sophisticated. I drive my own car, okay?
Okay, yes. Got it.
Ari Eats.
Yeah.
Ari Eats.
Ari Eats. Although that sort of implies that I'm just the one eating. No, my wife has this, obsessive personality. It's, most people will go to a restaurant and be like, oh, that was a good meal. My wife is like, oh, I can make that. I can make that way better. And then she does. She is the definition of extra.
Okay.
You want to offer my wife a drink? Would you like some vodka, some tequila, just a regular, hey, throw some vodka, some more juice together. You got a screwdriver. Just basic stuff, right? I like whiskey. I like bourbon. So I'll just drink a whiskey straight up without ice, right? Just take the bottle out, pour a glass, and boom, we're good. I mean, she gets a sifter out. She's got, a mortar and pestle. She's, grinding stuff down, and then she's putting it into a blender. And, I mean, it's insane. So Instagram has been, the bane of my existence because of that. Because now she sees somebody making something on Instagram, and suddenly she's got to make it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you look, and there's 5,000 dishes.
Which you've made it very clear you don't do.
Why do you have to?
Shots fired. It's payback. It's payback.
So
our dead dinosaur Halloween decoration that has now been revived. Upright, fully inflated, standing tall and proud in our front yard.
Is it?
Yes.
You got pictures?
I do actually have a picture.
Pics or GTFO?
No, I've got pictures. But, no, I see what you're saying. In a lot of ways, we are Big 12 today now on Big 12 Studios, in addition to what we do on TuneIn. Basically, Bravo TV. We are Big 12 Bravo TV.
You're Andy Cohen, the genius behind all of the Bravo TV.
Of course. Yeah, so in some ways, I see what you're saying. In some ways, you kind of feel like you're under surveillance?
Yes.
To a certain degree?
Well, I mean, again, my family never really listened to the show.
You've been doing this show for a hot minute. I mean, you've been doing it on radio for 6 years?
A long time.
Yeah.
I think you were in kindergarten when we started doing the show.
Right, because I'm super young.
Yeah. So, even though we're the same age and you're actually a few months older than me. But, no, so yeah, I mean, and now it's a whole thing. The kids are, they do all their things they need to do before going to school so they can get in front of the TV to watch.
What's Dad going to say today?
Yeah, exactly. But then
But
then they're all excited, and then I come home, and it's well, you did this, that, and what? What was this all about? It's my God, I've got critics all over the place.
Yeah, you get home, and it's like you're breaking down game film. What happened here?
Yeah,
what happened here?
You brought the muffins. Where was the muffin story?
Yeah. Was there the story?
The story.
Of course.
I mean,
didn't deliver.
Normal people buy muffins at the store. My wife is let's just throw a bunch of vegetables in there, make muffins ourselves. I mean, it's incredible.
I mean, you're a puppet now. You're a puppet. They have
have always been one. Just not on the show.
Well,
now it's seeped into that part of my life too.
Well, knowing that you'll be, criticized and heckled a little bit at home gives me peace of mind, because I was going to do that tonight in person at our son's flag football games that I cannot wait to finally be able to attend. But then I find out you're not even going to be there.
Yeah, it's week 10. Where have you been all year, James?
Out of town doing games. How can you be the offensive coordinator and just miss a game all willy-nilly?
Well, what's actually really funny about this is my friend who's the coach of the team, Alex. He has a first grader and a fourth grader like you and I. So you and I both have kids the same age. Mm-hmm. So this is a fourth grade camp out tonight that I'm missing the game for. It's a big camp out, huge, extravagant thing. So my buddy Alex is going to be driving out to the camp out. He's going to set the tent up. Then he's going to leave to go back and coach the game and then come back to the camp out.
That's dedication.
It's only like a 35-minute drive, and Alex says he's going to Mexico next week, so he didn't want to miss two games in a row.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
That separates the men from the boys.
Yeah, and I'm a boy then, apparently, because I will not be doing that.
The offensive coordinator just says, I'm out. You think the Little Bears, you think their offensive coordinator's missing games? I don't think so.
They're not the Little Bears,
They're
James. They're the
6-0-1.
Bears, James. Also, this is our third game this season against the Chiefs.
I mean, what new wrinkles can you throw at them that they haven't already seen?
I mean, you know what they say. It's really hard to beat a team 3 times in the same
It's
season.
a glorified scrimmage, so I get it.
Is it really hard, though, to beat a team the same time? That same team 3 times in the same season, though?
I mean, I've always kind of bought into that, yeah.
Have you?
Unless you're...
I mean, if you beat them twice, aren't you more likely to beat them a third time? Haven't you proven you're sort of better than them?
Yeah, I find that if a team, if teams play each other 3 times, typically in a season, somebody will get a win at some point. I think it's hard to beat a team 3 times. I see your angle. I do. But to your point, now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about all these K-State basketball matchups where they would play twice in the regular season, then KU would still beat K-State in the Big 12 tournament.
Right, like it's not like all things are equal
Maybe
across the board.
That's just what I would tell myself going into that third
it's so
game.
hard.
Like,
Third
we
time.
got Denny Clemente and Curtis Kelly and Jacob Pullen, and we're going to be a 2 seed in the tournament. No way do we lose to these guys again.
3 times. No way. I mean, not all things are equal. There's not like equal talent across the board, and I'd say the same thing for the Chiefs in this game tonight between the Chiefs and the Bears.
Are
in
you
a
guys
huge first-grade football game at Pierce High School?
And you guys have beat them twice?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, go to the camp out. Go to the camp out.
They got one kid who gets behind the defense and can catch.
It's game over. It's
brutal.
Game over.
It's brutal.
All right, so before we get to our interview with Pete Nakos, the On3 reporter who's going to break down all the coaching changes in college football and the transfer portal stuff, and there's been some tweaks this week to what's happening there when a coach gets fired and a new coach gets hired, we think, hopefully, maybe it could be, this is the last time we will talk Tortilla-gate. Just when we think Tortilla-gate was over, the hammer comes down on Texas Tech.
On Monday, this Monday, so 3 days ago, I got a memo. The Big 12 Conference athletic directors and presidents, got a memo from Commissioner Yormark. This was not discussed by the Big 12 Conference or by the athletics directors, and the commissioner, at his discretion, changed the policy going forward. So beginning this week, here is the policy. The first time a tortilla is thrown on the field, there's a PA announcement that's required as a warning. The second time a tortilla is thrown on the field, and they changed it. It's not the field, it's the playing enclosure. So even if it hits the sideline, if it hits behind the end zone, if it's in the playing enclosure, that second strike, it's a 15-yard penalty and a $100,000 fine. So the stakes just got a lot higher, a lot quicker on Saturday afternoons. So you get one chance, opening kickoff, tortillas come out, it's a warning. On that second time, that second time could be that first series. If people keep throwing tortillas into the second or third play, that could cost us 15 yards right there and a $100,000 fine. Guys, that's a big financial penalty that's associated as we go forward. Let me say this, and I recognize this, and I think this is important for y'all to hear. This is not a Texas Tech student issue. This is not Texas Tech students doing this. This is Red Raider Nation. There are tortillas that are being thrown from the west side of the stadium, which is the press box side, the east side where the students are, the north end zone, the south end zone. They're coming from the suites, the club section. So Red Raider Nation, which all of us are a part of, all of us are responsible for the 2 15-yard penalties that we've received.
I'm sure they're all like, but it's just a 15-yard penalty still, right? The penalty hasn't been increased. It's the fine that has been increased. Is that what it is?
I will say the athletic director, that's Kirby Hokut, by the way, the Texas Tech AD. There's a sense of urgency there in the tone in his voice.
Guys, this is no longer funny.
Like
$100K for each tortilla that's thrown. and reading some of the social media posts, which is probably something I shouldn't be doing in terms of gauging reaction from Tech fans. But so there's a few things here. Number one, it's why are they singling us out? They're not. You're just the fan base that throws things on the field.
Right.
In literally no other area of our sports society are you permitted to throw anything onto a field in any capacity. I mean, again, you go to a sporting event, you get a bottled water, they have to take the cap from you because of people throwing caps onto the field. So it's not singling out anybody, it's singling out the individuals and the universities which have people throwing stuff on the field. Another reaction was, now we got to leave the Big 12. Where are you going? Where you going, Tech? Where are you going? That was one of my favorite Tech fans' reactions.
We've got to leave the Big 12.
Well, now we got to go to the SEC. I got news for
maybe
you.
You can get away with that in the Mountain West. I don't think elsewhere.
No, right, yeah. And then the third one, and I guess this one is legitimate to a degree, which is how do you police opposing fans from doing this? Because, if you're an opposing fan visiting the stadium, don't you bring tortillas to Chuck to then give them the $100,000 fine and the $15 penalty? Which, I guess you could have security guards, etc., people that are, policing this to see who's throwing it, and then also hopefully people in the stands will police it to a degree.
Right.
But I'm also, and I would imagine the commissioner feels the same way, I'm not that concerned with this because at this point it's only been Texas Tech fans that are doing it, and the fine is the only thing that's changed here. In terms of the competition on the field, that's remained a 15-yard penalty.
Mm-hmm. I like it, and I think the Texas Tech security at Jones AT&T Stadium will be ramped up moving forward, especially with this dollar amount on the line. This is all of a sudden 4 times the amount that the previous fines were and would have been. So $100,000 does move the needle. That is a very direct impact to a program. And I think about this situation and then the Big 12 fining Colorado, making it very clear that programs, schools, teams will be fined for derogatory chants when they play BYU, for example. That was a couple of weeks ago. And I just think that the message from the Big 12, which I'm in favor of, is let's be polished, let's be professional, let's still have fun, but we don't need chaos. We want to be buttoned up and not a bunch of barnyard animals. This is just a whole, let's be a little classier versus chaos. We can still have fun, but the whole pocket knife, tortilla gate thing, the tortilla toss is a long-standing tradition that is awesome. It is so unique and so one-of-a-kind, has a great backstory with the Fiesta Bowl stuff in the 2000s. And so I love that there's still a window for this to continue. It's just as long as it continues in a healthy way for the Big 12.
And look, any Tech fans that are saying they're messing with tradition here, you're just not allowed to throw things onto a field in any sport in any capacity, and the fact that you're allowed to once in the opening kickoff allows your tradition to continue. To do it after every kickoff, it's a bit much. Just be like the Aggies. They kiss at every kickoff. That's a tradition that you can get on board with.
Schools all have unique kickoff things. I think at Kansas State, you dangle your car keys.
I think that's when in doubt, just do the car keys.
When in doubt, car keys.
Just go car keys.
But now everybody's got these little fobs, and there's not a lot of keys.
Jingling.
Everything's going to be digital on our wrists, and we'll just all be doing this. A shake weight commercial. Coming up next, we've got Pete Nakos from the On3 Network. He is the college football national reporter, covers recruiting, coaching, transfer portal stuff. He's big time, and he's going to join us next here on Big 12 Today. This is Big 12 Radio. He's Ari, I'm James. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, and you're watching our radio program via Big 12 Studios, via your Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, wherever you do your streaming, YouTube. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Expected to be joined momentarily, we hope, from Pete Nakos, the college business sports and transfer portal reporter for On3 Sports, On3 NIL, based out of Nashville, and he is on the go. So we're trying to connect with him. But breaking news from Pete. So when the college football transfer portal window passed, the NCAA announced that players would have 15 days to enter the portal, 5 days after a new hire. So that's a 20-day window. It's a little bit confusing. You can go in the portal 5 days after the new hire, and you have 15 days to enter the portal. But there's been some tweaks to this. You know, previously it was 30 days after a coaching change you could enter the portal. With the new rule, they shrink the window. And the NCAA is hoping to cut down on this mass exodus of players after a coaching change, looking for some stability within the sport in any way, shape, or form. But now, so if a program changes coaches outside of a January to June span, the portal window doesn't open immediately. It waits until January 2nd. So even if your team, let's say Oklahoma State hires a coach in November or December, those players can't enter the portal until January 2nd like everybody else.
Yeah, so there have been multiple changes to the transfer portal window. You know, we had, I think a year ago, the windows changed. 2 years ago, there was another window added, and then the windows changed. If I'm remembering this all correctly, because
you're right, yeah.
It feels like every year there's been something new and different about the portal. I can't imagine this one is going to be met without some level of resistance, and especially on the part of the coach part piece. I would imagine that ultimately this goes back to the current status, which is you're allowed to enter the portal. The portal window opens for your team once the coach leaves. I think. Again, we talked about this. In principle, it makes sense to me. You know, you do want to give the program the opportunity to continue to have its players and give them the opportunity to at least see what's coming up next. But there's a balance there, and in some ways, the school could be holding the kid hostage if it takes them a long time to figure out who their next coach is. And I mean, they've got decisions to make. You know, I think this taking it outside the control of the student athletes will be a major no-no with some of the lawyers and representation of these student athletes, because now you have a situation which you're in control of. But like, let's say you're part of a program, the coach leaves, and then they take months upon months to hire a new coach, and meanwhile, like, rosters are filling up across the country. You're trying to get a spot as a transfer portal athlete. Currently, the players have the control. They can enter the portal in certain windows and then be in control when they want to go to a new school. In this situation, though, there's less control, and that's why I think ultimately it will go back to the current situation. It's very one-sided on the part of the universities in a way that I think will not stand up in court.
Yeah. And again, to try and explain this as best we can. So previously, to your point, athletes had 30 days after a coaching change to enter the transfer portal.
So, for instance, Stanford, Tory Taylor is fired following spring. David Bailey enters the transfer portal. So does Bear Bachmeier. I would assume in the current situation, they are not able to enter the portal until Stanford hires a new coach, which means that they're on this year's team, right? Because they've just hired an interim coach. So what does that mean? If they hire an interim coach, is that a hiring that allows you to then enter the portal? Does it have to be the full-time coach that's added in order to get into the portal? Like, I think that's one of the more important specifics that's missing here, because in the case of not an interim coach but a full-time coach being hired, I mean, you're going to have situations like Stanford.
Yeah.
Where David Bailey and Bear Bachmeier are being held hostage at a university they don't want to be at under a lame duck coach for a season for what?
And I think they still would have been able to enter the portal, but it would have been so far down the road that, I mean, most everybody's rosters are full by that point in time when we have this cap now, this 105 scholarship cap with no walk-ons. It makes it very difficult for the student athlete to find a new home.
Right. David Bailey's going to find a new home regardless, but not everybody's in that same boat.
Exactly.
Most of the guys aren't. In fact, there's probably a good number of players that wanted to leave Stanford that didn't. One or two tried to leave Stanford and couldn't because of what you just talked about. The two guys that were obviously going to find a landing spot were Barry Bachmeier and David Bailey, two guys that you would have cut players in order to add them to your roster, which is what basically happened.
So there's this 5-day waiting period after the new coach is hired or announced before the portal opens for that program. That is assuming the new hire occurs between January 2nd and June 30th. If it's outside of that window, if it's November or December, players can't go in the portal until everybody else January 2nd. The deal, though, is there's nothing stopping these athletes from knowing that they're going to enter the portal when that announcement happens. Like, players can make their decisions now. They can make them in December. They can make them in November. And players can even kind of silently commit before that official window opens. So I understand the NCAA is trying to tighten the ropes on all of this, but there are still so many loopholes that can't prevent the student athlete from going wherever they want to go.
What's the intention here?
I think the intention is for less transfers. Like, big picture, that's it. Less transfers all across the board. I think when it comes to coaching changes, the rationale is you cut down on this mass exodus of players after a coaching switch, and you try to retain as many players and set that guy up for success in the best way possible. And I think the hope is that the new guy comes in and he has his 5-day window and then eventually 15-day window to try and convince the guys that are on the 2-deep to stay. Because it goes both ways. Also, a lot of coaches come in and they want to get their guys into the program. But I think they're trying to prevent what happens at a lot of schools. Like, you look at the new coaching changes this year in college football. The coaches that left or were fired, whatever, I mean, players were in the portal right away. And there are groups of players that are at new schools together. You've got a whole slew of Sam Houston players. Take a G6, for example. Casey Keeler leaves Sam Houston to go to Temple. There are bunches of Sam Houston players now at North Texas. We've got Pete Nakos from On3 discussing his latest tweet about the college football transfer portal window. Pete, we are trying to explain this in the best way possible to our listeners and our viewers, but what can you tell us about what's going down?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on today. So the best way to break this down is, so earlier this month, right, the NCAA made some changes to the college football transfer portal. And now players, it's a 15-day window only in January, from January 2nd to January 16th. And now with coaching changes, right, previously when there's a coaching change at a Big 12 school, for example, the portal opened for 30 days immediately. Well, the NCAA did away with that rule. Now players can't go in the portal until 5 days after a new hire. But the new caveat that I reported this morning that we've learned is that let's say a new coach is hired like December 1st, right? They can't go. Players won't be able to go in the portal December 5th. They're going to have to wait until January 2nd. I understand that might not be the biggest news of the day in college sports, but it definitely throws a wrench in some plans for some athletes, I'm sure, and also really emphasizes how big this January 2nd to 16th portal window is going to be.
Pete, is your understanding of the coaching change piece, is that when a full-time coach is hired? What about an interim coach? And I'm thinking about the example of Stanford here, because there's two Stanford players, former players, that are playing a huge role in the Big 12 right now with David Bailey and Bear Bachmeier. So, I mean, is that in that situation, would they have to then wait for a full-time coach to be hired, or would the portal window open for them once the interim coach is installed?
The portal window wouldn't open for them until a full-time head coach is installed.
So in this case, essentially, Stanford would be holding these players hostage for the entire season?
I mean, theoretically, but the 30-day window opened for them whenever, Stanford parted ways with their last coach.
Do you think that will be met with resistance from some of the players, managers, and lawyers?
I'm sure agents and lawyers are going to have a field day with this. I don't know if, necessarily, I have formed an opinion yet. It's definitely going to make for a much... it's going to be a traffic jam in January, yes. It's going to be wild. So we'll see how it all goes. But, it's... The flip side of it, though, is when you talk to people, right, there's, I believe, almost over 1,000 FBS scholarship players entered in the spring transfer portal window. So the spring portal's gone now. So you think about all the movement that used to happen in the spring is going to now happen in the winter, and then you add in the fact that there's only 15 days for guys to indicate that they're going to the portal. This January is going to be super interesting, and it's going to be... it's going to be a traffic jam.
Pete, do you think big picture this is going to work in terms of less players in the transfer portal? That seems to be why we're doing all this, I'm assuming, is to limit the number of transfers that have been in the portal, and that number just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, do you think that the NCAA is going to get what they want in terms of the portal and the number of guys in it?
My take is in the short term, I don't think this January portal window is going to see less activity than we've seen, right? If you had 1,100 FBS players go in April in the 10-day spring window, think about how many guys are going to go in when, there's only 15 days for the entire sport to go in, really. So, long term, maybe more contracts, multi-year deals, things like that, but I think the knee-jerk reaction for a lot of these guys will be that I need to go explore every option possible in these 15 days.
Pete, what else is going on in the college world that you've been reporting on? It feels like there's something new every day.
Well, the coach carousel is moving. Penn State fired James Franklin on Sunday after 12 seasons, so there's that. And then, past the coaching carousel and the portal, there's just, trying to keep up with the day-to-day of injuries and things like that. Texas Tech has a big one this weekend at Arizona State. There's some question marks with Barron Morton, who exited against Kansas, but things are tracking well. And then, Sam Levitt at Arizona State didn't play against Utah. He seems to be in a good spot. What does the injury report say tonight? What are we hearing on that? So just a lot of day-to-day stuff like that.
You guys have the Penn State hot board from the other day. Matt Rule, Nebraska, Kurt Cignetti from Indiana, but then Matt Campbell from Iowa State. From everybody you've talked to within Penn State and around college football in terms of the type of coach that they're going to go after, what are your thoughts on who might land that job?
It's a little early. I know Pat Kraft's going to take some really big swings. I'd tell you that what Matt Campbell has done at Iowa State is extremely impressive, making 2 Big 12 title games at a place that just historically has not been a top contender in the Big 12. I know that because they continue to play late in the season, it's impacted him taking some jobs in recent years. So I think there's also a short list of jobs that Matt Campbell would really be open to, and from everything I've heard, I think Penn State's one of them. He's a Midwest guy. He's from Ohio. The chance to be at a big time superpower. I think Penn State kind of fits that, but we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. I really think Kurt Cignetti and Matt Rule are kind of, at the top of that list right now for Penn State.
Talking with Pete Nakos from On3, college sports business and transfer portal reporter for On3 Sports, does a phenomenal job. And Pete, you're in SEC country. I see you're based in Nashville. I would love to get your thoughts on just the perception of the Big 12 this season with what Texas Tech is doing. And then, 3 or 4 other teams have been ranked in the top 25. So what's your take on the league?
I think the Big 12 is deep this year, guys. I think, you look at the very top. I think Texas Tech has established itself as probably a top 5 program this year, and then past that too, Arizona State's really good. Utah's good. I could keep going. I think that this is going to end up being a 2-bid league. I know that's kind of putting myself out there a little bit, but if things continue going at this rate, and Texas Tech runs the table, and then what if they lose in the Big 12 title game? I think it's going to be really hard to keep Texas Tech out of it, for example.
2-bid league. We're here for it. Pete, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you hopping on with us.
You bet. I'll talk to you guys.
Thanks, Pete.
Pete Nakos, college sports business and transfer portal reporter for On3 Sports, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching our program via Big 12 Studios. More to come here on Big 12 today. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. listening to us on TuneIn, Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league, and you are watching us via Big 12 Studios, big12studios.com, the Big 12 Fast channel on your Roku device, Amazon Prime, Fire Stick combo, DirecTV, YouTube, Samsung TV, and more. Next week, we are at Big 12 Basketball Media Days. For us, it is wall-to-wall coverage. We will be on our normal time, 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, up in Kansas City at the T-Mobile Center. And then it's wall-to-wall, just interview after interview from all the players, all the coaches, all the big names in attendance for the women and the men. So super excited for that. Big 12 Media Days. Man, it's here. Basketball is here. Where's my basketball? Basketball is here. What's the headline?
You haven't yet brought up the fact that you are today dressed like you're going to summer camp after the show. You're wearing a Houston Cougars basketball shirt.
I am.
And so it's a really cool shirt.
I'm going to my Houston Cougars basketball camp.
That's what it looks like you're doing after this. Like you've got your basketball, you've got your snacks, you've got your water bottle, you've got your Houston Cougar shirt on. I mean, I think last Friday I wore a Sweetness shirt.
That was on a Monday?
It was on Monday.
It was on a
The
Monday.
Bears played Monday night.
Right,
That's how the whole casual Friday conversation got started.
Okay, so James and I offline had a conversation about casual Fridays. But it was kind of left open-ended. And so you went full in, you dove headfirst into a casual Friday.
I did.
I stuck with the traditional Big 12 polo look, which was obviously what we were advised to do. And on Monday when I wore that T-shirt, I caught a lot of flack for it. So just wanted to throw that out there. Here you are wearing a T-shirt.
It is a Friday, and it's a casual Friday. And
you said that like you were confused. It's a casual. Did you do this so that you would just get free stuff for the Big 12? Where you're like, you know what? I'm just going to
I'm going to buy my own shirts. I will wear my Houston basketball shirt because we're talking Houston. And you went from wearing a really nice polo earlier this week to wearing a somewhat nice polo, but you still have a collar on.
Thank you.
So you are 10 out of 10. I'm all in on casual Friday. So from this day forward, every Friday, it's T-shirt season.
Okay.
It's hoodie season.
Okay.
It's Big 12 swag season. I just sent some emails.
Sent some emails?
Sent some emails. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I read actually one of the emails you sent. It seems pretty, let me just read it.
What?
Wow.
Not urgent enough? What is it?
That could have been an email.
Tammy, can you turn me up just a smidge?
Just very straightforward here. Hey, to whom it may concern. Where's our swag? I demand shirts, pants, ties, everything you have Big 12 on it.
That's not what the email actually said. That maybe would have been better for us to get some gear. But yeah, I'm rocking my Houston Cougars shirt today.
I'm reading the email verbatim here.
Verbatim. That's a lie.
Verbatim.
It's a bold-faced
lie. To whom it may concern. I don't have enough Big 12 swag. Where is it? How do I get it? You don't know what's going to happen if I don't get any soon. I thought that the threat was a little bit baseless.
Threat maybe was a little much. The Big 12 men's basketball, we are talking hoops. Ari's going to do a spider drill for us here in just a moment.
You know I can.
Can you?
I mean, not with this basketball, but yeah, I can. You know what? I really impressed my kids by doing it.
I believe
That's where you go 2 in the front, 2 in the back. That sounded weird.
I haven't brought up that I have not received my Wednesday night pickup basketball invite. I haven't brought that up for probably a solid 9 months. But I'm ready to take another stab at it because we're going into rec basketball season. And, I'm no longer with Boats and Throws, so I'm a free agent.
I don't know what that means.
It's my old team.
Got it.
Boats and Throws.
Yeah.
But
you're on the waiting list.
Okay.
That team sounds like one of the teams that was mentioned yesterday in historical figures of, I don't know. What was that? When we were talking college football and we were talking about some of the, Lily ice creams. What was the name of your?
That was college basketball. My team was Boats
basketball.
and Throws. We were Boats and Throws.
You're Boats and Throws. That
Had
sounds
some
like a name.
sweet unis. Okay, that's what it's all about. Look good, feel good, play good.
Who'd you play against?
Was it?
What do you mean, who'd I play? It was a rec basketball team.
Got it. So it's part of a league?
Yeah, I was in a league.
Oh, interesting. You didn't invite me to be in that league.
Well, because I didn't know you. It was 3 years ago.
Well, how convenient.
How dare you not know me 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Taman, are you a hooper?
Yes.
You hoop?
I do.
Okay.
I love hoop.
I also didn't get invited to your wedding.
Wow.
Nobody got invited to my wedding. It's just the two of us. Okay, when you get married as many times as we do,
Wow.
the guest list is small. Okay. All right, so the Big 12 preseason basketball poll is out. Smooth transition.
Smooth as it gets right there.
I'm ready to marry Kelvin Sampson because Houston continues.
The ability from this professional guy, I just threw a basketball at him, didn't miss a beat.
Didn't miss a beat. I'll eat a muffin. I'll hoop. Houston preseason runaway favorite. Okay, they got 14 first place votes. BYU, your preseason runner-up. Texas Tech 3, Arizona 4, Iowa State 5. The Big 12 men's preseason basketball poll. Then it goes Kansas, Baylor, Cincinnati, Kansas State, TCU, West Virginia 11th, followed by Oklahoma State, Utah, UCF, Colorado, and Arizona State. Should also note that, albeit it is preseason, Oklahoma State just took down Auburn. In one of these charity preseason exhibition games, had a pretty good crowd. It was played where? Where was the game played?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Bama. Paint me a Birmingham. Oklahoma State won that game in overtime. I think they're going to be much improved. But this league, once again, does the league run through Kelvin Sampson and Houston? Here's what Coach Sampson said about his culture.
For us, everything starts with relationships. Our culture is built around the relationship we build, that we develop with that young man from our first contact with him, Rossi, until he gets here, and then we strengthen it while he's here. If I told Terrence Arsenault, Emmanuel Sharp, and Jarris Walker, if I told them three cats to run through a brick wall when I first met them, they'd probably drop us. Mm-hmm. If I told them to run through a brick wall right now, today, they say, Coach, can I get a running start? Mm-hmm. That's relationships, man. Yep. And that's, and my staff is unbelievable. Kellen, Quanas, Hollis, KC, Goldie, Bobby, down the list. We understand that I don't have to be their life, but they are my life. I'm not here for me. I'm here for them.
3 starters coming back. Milos Uzan, flirted with the NBA draft, comes back. Emmanuel Sharp, Joseph Tugler, last year's Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Top 5 recruiting class, littered with 5 stars. Might be starting 2 freshmen this year. Houston is in a position to not just win the Big 12, but also to win the national championship.
Yeah, so there's 2 pieces that I wanted to react to from the Big 12 preseason standings. But first, what you just said. 2 guys that I think are highly motivated to do that. Milos Uzan and Emmanuel Sharp. They don't get to the national championship without those 2 guys. Crucial roles and contributors on major players in that team that played for a national championship last season, but probably both feel like if they had done more, they would have won the national title. Mm-hmm. I mean, Sharp did not have his best game in the national championship game. Same with Uzan, who did not play well in the Final Four, as we discussed during that period of time. So 2 guys that are extremely highly motivated from what happened last year. Great seasons, but they did not finish the way that they wanted to, and 2 guys in particular that have major control over that. The other side is, where was Kansas on that list?
Preseason 6th, I believe, with Darren Peterson coming in.
This is the Big 12, yes?
Big 12 Conference, Kansas, number 6 in the preseason poll.
I mean, that is unbelievable. How many consecutive Big 12 championships did the Jayhawks win?
Like 37.
I mean,
feels like.
And they either won it or shared it basically every year of the Big 12's existence, with a few exceptions. In 1999, Texas won the regular season, but Kansas won the tournament championship. In 2000 and 2001, Iowa State won both the regular season and tournament championship. Like, that was about it in terms of Kansas not winning either the regular season or tournament championship. So for a league that was essentially run by Kansas for the better part of the first 2 decades of the league, for them to be 6 right now says a ton about the league and where it is. And it's not just Houston. I mean, Houston has obviously come in and knocked down the doors of the Big 12, but it has created a level of parity. I mean, even Baylor. Where was Baylor on that list?
Baylor is preseason 7th, right behind Kansas.
So you've got 2 teams that have won national championships within the last decade that are 6 and 7 in the Big 12 right now.
Says a lot about the strength of the league. Kansas being preseason number 6 is very eye-opening because we don't ever see that from Kansas. Now, Bill Self is still there, last I checked. He has coached some phenomenal freshmen. Grady Dick, Devontae Graham, Ben McLemore, Brandon Rush, Josh Jackson, Joel Embiid, Andrew Wiggins. But here's what he said about KU's freshman Darren Peterson.
I would think as a freshman coming in with the ability to put a team on his back, I'll be honest, I don't know that I've had one. We didn't ask Wiggs to do that as a freshman. Embiid didn't do that as a freshman. Josh had Frank Mason and Devontae Graham, didn't ask to do as a freshman. With this particular roster, let's just call it like it is. Darren needs to be the guy. And if he's that guy, then he'll put up numbers that are as good as anybody we've had here. But the bottom line is those other guys around him need to develop so he can not have to be the guy all the time. Because, if Flory keeps developing, Bryson Tiller, Melvin Council, Cole Rosario, Jaden Dawson, if Trey White, if those guys keep developing, then he won't have so much pressure on him to perform. But I haven't been around anybody that's more prepared to be a college freshman that can carry the load more so than what Darren can.
He will put up numbers that we've never had here at Kansas.
Can Kansas win big like that? And when I say win big, I'm talking about, can Kansas win a national championship like that?
Derrick Rose got pretty close.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Kansas, and that's the comp. Like, he is Derrick Rose level good.
But remember, Memphis had a ridiculous team around him that had been very experienced in playing together.
Very true.
Chris Douglas Roberts and Anthony Anderson. I mean, there was a really good group around him. I think the part that Bill Self said there, the second part, is the development of some of these other guys around him. That's the difference between KU being a fun team to watch that has a number 1 overall pick that flames out in the tournament versus a national championship, legitimate national championship contender. I think most people view Kansas right now as, well, Peterson is so good, but what do they have around him? How much depth do they have? It's a big reason why they're 21st or whatever, 19th in the preseason poll. John Rothstein had him 32nd in his preseason rankings. It's hard to disagree with that when what we've seen within recent history is big-time player comes in and puts the team on his back, but that's it. And that is a recipe for flaming out in the tournament. We saw it with Kevin Durant. We see it all the time with like legitimate number 1 pick, one and done type guys. Cooper Flagg went deep, but again, that was probably a better team around him. And I think that's the difference between Kansas winning big and not winning big at all, being a fun team to watch that has the number 1 overall pick. I think BYU is set up to win more around Debanza based on the players that are back. So, I want to disagree and say that KU is super underrated this year, and to a degree they are, but I think it's dependent upon their depth becoming actually depth.
Yeah, the supporting cast. And I agree with you on BYU. Robert Wright III, transfer from Baylor. Kennard Davis, transfer from Southern Illinois. He's a scorer. Kiba Keita's back, the big down low, who is an athlete. If there was a Bruce Feldman all freaks list for college basketball, he'd be top 5. Richie Saunders is also back for his 19th year of eligibility.
Is it Richie Saunders back? Like, he was one of the best players in the conference last year.
A.J. DeBonsa, the number one player via ESPN Top 100. Before we go to break, Kevin Young, the BYU head coach, on Richie Saunders and what he means for this season.
Him and I have had a lot of discussions about, what it looks like for him this year compared to last year. I've been really happy just with his ability to kind of block some of that out, honestly, and just come in and lead by example. But look, man, it reminds me of when I was with the Suns and we traded for this guy named Kevin Durant. And then I remember Devin Booker telling me, man, I've never got so many wide open catch and shoot threes in my life because everyone's worried about Kev. And so I kind of even seen that here early on. It'll be interesting when we start playing other teams, what they choose to do in terms of their defensive assignments. But I think it's going to open up for Richie for sure. I mean, it's growing pains at the same time. He may not get some of the shots early on that he was used to. We got to kind of work through all that, which we're currently doing. And the thing that's really stood out is, you're talking about AJ, you're talking about Richie, then next thing you know, Rob Wright's living at the rim because, you forget about him. And then Kennard Davis is making a three and so on and so forth. And so when you're able to add high-end talent, it does, if it comes together in the way that we hope it does, it really opens the door up for a lot of other guys because, they're not the focal point of the scouting reports and so forth. And so our hope is that it opens up the world for a lot of our guys.
See, like, talent across the board, all these guys that play on these teams are really good and talented and proven that, right? Like, you're not going to play at this level unless it. But part of the confidence the players have to have is from these guys. If the rest of the team stands around to watch Darren Peterson or AJ DeBansa do his thing, there's no confidence they're going to have. And now if you're passing out to those shooters, they're not going to hit shots. The more confidence you instill in your team, the more you instill that confidence, the better they're going to be around them. And I think that's the key for both BYU and Kansas. BYU has players with skins on the wall that have done it before already, that have proven it that they can do it. KU doesn't, not as much, but it's the same principle. If you're standing around as players watching Darren Peterson or AJ DeBansa do his thing, you're not going to be confident when the ball is in your hands. But if you are and you're constantly involved, that elicits more of that.
Love the Kevin Durant, Devin Booker comp from Coach Kevin Young. More BYU talk on the way. Spencer Linton from BYU TV will join us to preview the Holy War. Might touch on some basketball as well before we dive into some more Big 12 football game previews. He's Ari. I'm James Taman on the controls. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and on your screen via Big 12 Studios. Back here on Big 12 Today via Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn, watching us via Big 12 Studios. He's Ari, I'm James. Spencer Linton, energy. We all want it from BYU TV. Hey, Spencer, good morning.
Good morning, guys. It is rivalry week, and I'm already exhausted, and we're not even to the BYU-Utah game. But it's okay. We will channel the proper energy for this interview and make it through what should be an amazing Big 12 Saturday tomorrow.
Yeah, what can you tell us about the ramp-up from the environment, the atmosphere, everything in the state of Utah that's on the line, big noon kickoff, etc.? What has this week been like?
That is a fantastic question, my friend, and I wish we had a full hour to discuss everything that goes into it. But when you look at this rivalry and the proximity that is involved with the schools only 45 minutes apart and split families very much being involved in this, split communities, split church groups, split friend groups, it is wild how this divides the state in the way that it does on an annual basis. And you throw in the layers that are involved with the cross-pollination of the staffs and even the rosters this year, the administrations. There are so many different areas where people have experienced this rivalry on both sides, whether playing in it, coaching in it, or both in the case of Kyle Whittingham and Kalani Sitake, the two head coaches. And then you think about the fantastic finishes and the absolute gut punches that that's two fan bases have experienced over the years, and the elation. You take even last year's game, for crying out loud, with BYU really snatching victory out of the jaws of defeat when it looked like Utah clearly had that game won. And then as an entire fan base, you have the full year to either be elated and own those bragging rights and remind all of the friends and all of your groups about it for 365 days or whatever it is, until you play again the next year, or you sit on another loss. It's just this community. This is the biggest sporting event in the state of Utah every year, and there are professional franchises here, right? There are the Utah Jazz, there are the Utah Mammoth, there's Real Salt Lake. No, it's not a professional franchise moment every year. It's this game, the rivalry game, or as Kyle Whittingham likes to call it, the in-state game that happens every year. And wow, what a time. So if we're talking emotions, like on Monday, it's like, okay, yeah, here we go. But when Big Noon Kickoff and Barstool Sports and Dave Portnoy and the nation's attention got turned on to this game, yeah, it obviously took on a different tone. And you consider that both teams are nationally ranked, both are in position to make a run at playing in Arlington in the Big 12 championship, and whoever wins this game will have a clear leg up in making that dream a reality this season. So it's not a Big 12 championship game elimination contest, but gosh, it sure feels like it has some elements to that. So that clearly adds another layer to what is going to be what feels like an all-time BYU Utah scenario this week.
Spencer, let's add some historical context here, and I guess I'm mostly concerned from a historical context perspective in, you know, the way in which these two programs are so intertwined. When you go back and look at the 2008 Utah team that won the Sugar Bowl, I mean, you had Kalani Sitake was an assistant coach of that team. Gary Anderson, who's an analyst now for BYU. I mean, it's Aaron Roderick, Jay Hill. We're all on that Utah staff. Like, there's so much intertwined. Has that always been the case between Utah and BYU, or is this more part of the Kyle Whittingham, Kalani Sitake era?
There have been a few pieces in specific circumstances. The biggest one for a long time was Kalani Sitake, at least when you look at it from a BYU fan perspective. Like, man, I wish BYU could somehow find a way to get that guy to come be the defensive coordinator in Provo, because he's crushing it. in Salt Lake City with Kyle Whittingham in Utah. And that's a credit to Kalani because he was really, really effective and impactful and took Utah to new heights. And he was there when they transitioned from the Mountain West Conference into Power Five status at the time with their invitation to the Pac-12. But it's gone to another level in this latest era. You just mentioned so many names on the BYU side that were at Utah that are now at BYU. Now you look at what's on Utah's staff
yeah.
with Jason Beck, former BYU quarterback, as the offensive coordinator, and Micah Simon, former BYU wide receiver, now coaching the Utah receivers. It was only 6 years ago that Micah Simon was catching a miraculous pass at Neyland Stadium against Tennessee for BYU. They call it the Micah Miracle. And I mean, he's in BYU history and he's lauded forever. Now he's coaching Utah's receivers. One of their graduate assistants, Coy Detmer Jr., former BYU quarterback, is also up there. Mark Otuwaya, who was dyed in the wool blue, he was a BYU running back. He was as true blue BYU as you get. Now he's coaching the running backs at Utah. So 4 significant pieces right there added on to the head coach, who was the WAC Defensive Player of the Year in 1981 for BYU. But gosh, I mean, you split that rivalry that way, and then you consider the personnel of the rosters that are actually going to play with the drama of Keanu Tanuvasa transferring from Utah to BYU and everything that's gone into that. And Utah fans are upset because he was a good player. And look at BYU with Carson Ryan coming over and playing tight end for the Cougars now. And then on the Utah side, John Henry Daly was a BYU guy. Now he's one of the best quarterback rushers in the entire country. He's I think tied for second or third in the country with his 8 sacks. One of the Fano brothers was at BYU before he transferred to Utah. So again, there's not just crossover on the staffs, there's crossover on the actual rosters here. And yeah, the emotions definitely run deep.
Talking with Spencer Linton from BYU TV to preview Utah and BYU tomorrow, the Holy War. First time both teams have been ranked since 2009. In terms of X's and O's, who might have the lean one way or the other, what do you think will be the difference in this game?
They've been so accustomed to scoring, then that's advantage BYU. Also, I already mentioned John Henry Daly and Utah's pass rush. I believe as of last week, they had either the second or third fastest average quarterback pressure rate in the country at just over 3 seconds. I think it was 3.11 seconds. Their defensive pass rush is really good and going to get after Barrett Bachmeier. So, red zone offense for Utah and their quarterback pass rush in general, 2 advantages for the Utes. A few areas that BYU could take advantage of Utah in. One, Utah doesn't like to really throw the ball down the field. They're not like a deep passing attack threat. The passing game is pretty vanilla for Dampier in Utah. A lot of crossing routes, a lot of short passes, quick hitters, screen passes, and then they kind of let their athletes and team go to work. But Devin Dampier, when throwing the ball down the field 20-plus yards, is only 3 of 19 this year. So if BYU can force him to be one-dimensional and keep him in the pocket, I know, huge if, because it's hard to keep that guy in the pocket. But if they can do that and force him to try and use the medium to long passing game, that's an advantage for BYU because the Cougars do have a very solid, experienced secondary. They could bait Dampier into making some mistakes and turning the ball over. And then the second area is, I think BYU's run game with LJ Martin, they do have an advantage there, and Bear Bachmeyer, the tandem of those two. That's a lot for teams to handle for the entirety of a game, and BYU's offensive line has been able to wear some people down. If that run game at some point gets to the second level, Utah's secondary has tackled really poorly this season. They know it, one of the worst in the country. They're going to have a hard time bringing down a load like LJ Martin or Bear Bachmeyer if those guys can break a big play and get to the second level. That's a point of emphasis for Kyle Whittingham, is working on tackling with his secondary because they've really struggled. Or even a big receiver like Chase Roberts, if you get him in a medium to long passing game. Like he's a big dude, 6'4", 200-plus pounds. The Utah secondary has not tackled well. So those are a couple of advantages for BYU as well. Ultimately, this game, rivalry games, how often does it come down to turnovers? If Bear Bachmeyer turns the ball over like he has in the last 2 games against this opportunistic Utah team, it's going to spell big trouble for BYU. But if he can protect the ball like he did the first 4 games, and BYU can just wear Utah down a little bit, then that on BYU's home field should be an advantage for the Cougars.
Why is Utah favored?
I've asked several former standout BYU players that question. They're irked by this. Austin Collie, Dennis Pitta, Max Hall, John Beck, they're all like, what? This is straight disrespectful. On your home field at LaVell Edwards Stadium, really? Home underdog? Like, what is Utah done to deserve this? I believe odds makers are looking at a couple of things. They're looking at the opposite side and seeing a true freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeyer and saying, okay, is he ready for this game? Is he ready for that pass rush of Utah led by John Henry Daly in a rivalry game he hasn't experienced, he hasn't played, and he's turned the ball over multiple times in the past few games. So I think they're looking a little bit at that. And then they look heavily on analytics. How can you not be impressed with what Utah's offense has done, as I pointed out, and scoring points? Like, the common opponent the two teams have had is West Virginia. Utah goes on the road, absolutely obliterates West Virginia in Morgantown. BYU still handled them, and the game was never really in doubt, but it was a lot closer by the final score than what Utah did. Utah's just been playing more clean football, execution-wise, especially on offense, than BYU has. The Cougars have had to really work to beat Colorado and Arizona. So odds makers are noticing these teams, these trends. And even though BYU's at home, you lean on analytics and you lean on probably a little bit more experience. While Devin Dampier is new to Utah, he's got more Division I experience than Bear Bachmeyer, and I think that is a factor in playing into this.
Spencer, do you know, are they going to do the color rush uniform matchup like they did last year with Utah wearing the all red and BYU wearing the all blue?
I believe that is the plan. I need to confirm that, but I think that was just kind of a default plan they were going to put into place for this game every year because it is so aesthetically awesome, is it not? It's one of like the greatest scenes in college football from a uniform perspective.
Yes, totally agree. Awesome stuff. Spencer, thank you so much for your time this morning. Cannot wait for the game tomorrow.
Let's go. Great to talk to you guys. Enjoy the weekend and the chaos that's about to ensue in Big 12 football.
We'll see you next week in Kansas City, buddy.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Spencer Linton from BYU TV joining us to preview BYU and Utah here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. We look at more on this matchup and some of the others in the Big 12 Conference coming up next, getting you set for what will be a wild college football Saturday. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, and you're watching us via Big 12 Studios. Tuesday and Wednesday for Big 12 basketball media days with the women on Tuesday and the men on Wednesday. He's Ari Timken on social at Ari Sports, ARI Sports. I'm James Westling on social at James Westling. We've got Taman Turner producing and engineering our radio, television simulcast via Big 12 Studios. You can watch us on Roku, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Samsung TV, many other places. Also tomorrow, the game of the week here on Big 12 Radio, you can hear Arizona at Houston. That line is 1.5 in favor of the road team, Arizona. We'll be picking 5 of the Big 12 games during our weekly Pick'em segment here in about a half hour. So with this Holy War matchup, Utah-BYU, I was thinking that this is a game where I think both teams are so dominant at the line of scrimmage. Like, I know Utah has one of the best offensive lines in the entire country. They've graded out top 5 nationally week after week after week. But BYU is also very stout defensively at the line of scrimmage, at the point of attack, on both sides of the ball. So who do you think has the edge when it comes to the skill positions? Quarterback. Who has the better receivers? Who has the better running backs? Because I think 1 or 2 explosive plays in this game could be the difference.
I do have to disagree, though, to a degree. I think Utah clearly has the better defensive line. I think BYU has the better linebackers. Sure. I think BYU's defensive line has underperformed relative to expectations this year. As good as Keanu Tanavasa was in previous years, he hasn't been that good this year, at least not to our expectations. So, I give the nod on the defensive line to Utah. I give the nod to linebackers to BYU. In terms of skill position, I'm giving that to BYU. I think that's clear as day. Utah has struggled mightily in terms of the skill position, so much so that Smith Snowden's the guy that's playing both ways. Lander Barton's the guy for Utah that's played both ways. So they're so devoid of playmakers that they've got defensive players doubling as offensive playmakers.
Devin Dampier is going to have a huge game for Utah to get this win. I think he will have to be better than what Bear Bachmeier would need to be for BYU. Because when it comes to the skill positions, I look more so at receivers than even the running game. And both teams, their offenses are predicated so much on establishing the ground game and getting into manageable second and third downs. But I look at Chase Roberts, I look at Parker Kingston, I look at Carson Ryan, the tight end, who transferred from Utah to BYU. And then something Spencer brought up, Utah has struggled in their secondary to tackle. 1 or 2 missed tackles, and those guys are off to the races for BYU.
Yeah, no, look, and I do think, the Spider-Man meme, which he's not the first person to bring that up in reference to this game because it's very similar. Like, these are offenses that want to run the football, they want to play good defense, they ground ball control, and then you go and look and it's like, well, 2 coaching staffs that are very much intertwined. The 2008 Sugar Bowl winning Utah Utes, okay, they're Kyle Whittingham was the head coach, Gary Anderson was their defensive coordinator. He's now an analyst at BYU. Andy Ludwig, who until last year was the Utah offensive coordinator. Jay Hill is the defensive coordinator of BYU. He was on the Utah staff. Aaron Roderick was on that staff. Morgan Scalley, who's still the defensive coordinator, now coach in waiting, is on that staff. Kalani Sitake was on that staff. All right, so Kalani Sitake, Aaron Roderick, Jay Hill, Gary Anderson, all part of that staff. So they're it's all to say, there's a reason that they're the Spider-Man meme in this game because it's 2 coaching staffs. They come from the same origins and have similar principles in terms of how they want to run and play stylistically. And then I think the teams match up to that. They have good offensive lines. They have good defenses. They have good running games. I would single out BYU and say they've got the better running back in LJ Martin. I think Utah has the better running game. And I disagree with you on Bear Bachmeier to a degree. While I agree that Bachmeier has more around him, Devin Dampier, and we'll pick this game later. I'm leaning Utah on this one because it feels like Bear Bachmeier is going to make mistakes. He's a true freshman quarterback playing in his first rivalry game in this matchup. He's going to have a good history, fast forward, and Barry Bachmeier is going to play really well in this game in years to come. But if you're giving me a true freshman in his first opportunity to play in this game versus Devin Dampier, give me Devin Dampier.
Both have been really good. Dampier.
And that's not to knock Barry Bachmeier.
Sure.
He's a 19-year-old true freshman. It's okay to have realistic expectations for him.
Yeah. Man, that 2008 Utah team, quarterbacked by Brian Johnson. That wasn't Alex Smith.
Right.
That wasn't Cam Rising. But that team was stacked.
Right.
They went 13-0. They won at Michigan to open the season. And then they beat TCU that year. They beat BYU 48-24. Then they beat Alabama by 2 touchdowns in the Sugar Bowl. Team was loaded.
And
finished number 2 that year in the AP Top 25.
Who was on? Do you have the roster in front of you?
Yeah.
Who else was on that team?
Not a lot of names that you'd probably recognize.
Interesting. I figured it was loaded with NFL talent, probably on the defensive side of the football.
Paul Kruger was their best defensive lineman, defensive end. Sean Smith was a corner. Robert Johnson was a safety. Mike Wright was a linebacker. Derek Shelby was a defensive tackle. Offensively, Matt, how do you say his last name? Matt Osacia? Played in the NFL. Kind of a fullback, running back combo.
Asiata?
Asiata, thank you. That's it.
All right.
Sure, that's it.
I don't know how I pulled that out. I do remember him, though. Matt Asiata, yeah.
He's probably the biggest name on that team.
Would you say Isacia?
Isacia? I don't. Ari, I don't know how to say it. All I know is he was on my fantasy team a couple years. Okay. Freddie Brown was a receiver.
And then again, basically everybody that's a head coach or a coordinator from that 08, everybody that's a part of the staffs that are head coach or offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator were on the 08 staff. That's really easy for me to say after I just made fun of you for your mispronunciation. So, the offensive coordinator at BYU was on the staff at Utah in 08. The defensive coordinator at BYU was on the staff at Utah in 2008. The head coach was on staff at Utah in 2008. Morgan Scalley is still the defensive coordinator for Utah. Kyle Whittingham is still their head coach. The only difference is Andy Ludwig is not their offensive coordinator, which changed this year. And the guy that is now their OC is a former quarterback at BYU.
And Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham wouldn't say anything about the BYU players, but he would speak about BYU head coach Kalani Sitake.
As the head coach, that's your responsibility to mentor your staff. A lot of them don't need much mentoring. They're really good coaches just on their own. They stand alone. But you're right. There's a lot of coaches down there that were here. Grateful for what they gave us while they were here. They were all outstanding for us and did an excellent job. And Kalani is a good friend of mine. That's no secret. And he's become a outstanding head coach, and that's just back to your original question is you want to do everything you can as a coach to help your assistants progress, get to the next level, whatever that may be, coordinator, head coach somewhere else, whatever the case may be. I think that's an obligation, and one of the core responsibilities of a head coach is to try to get his staff to be able to excel and progress.
Utah coach Kyle Whittingham on Kalani Sitake. The game is at 8 Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 6 Mountain, Provo, Utah. Utah at BYU. You can watch it on Fox. Now, some of the other Big 12 games over the weekend, UCF and West Virginia play. They're both 0-3. Oklahoma State hosts Cincinnati. So UCF, West Virginia, and Oklahoma State are a combined 0-9 in league play. Somebody will get their first win in Big 12 play between UCF and West Virginia. But the parallel between those three teams, they all have first year or no year head coaches. In the case of Oklahoma State and Doug Meacham, who's the interim coach.
Got it.
What does that say about just how difficult it is to win in this conference your first year at a new school? And what do you think the new expectations should be for those programs? Like for this season, for UCF, is it still to make a bowl? What is it for West Virginia? I think we know at Oklahoma State more so than the other two.
Well, and go back to the new rule for the transfer portal, right? I mean, a big reason why coaches have such trouble having success year one now in college sports and college football in particular is because when a new coach takes a job, the whole roster is gone before that new coach takes the job. So, I mean, to a degree, it makes sense for why this rule was implemented. I don't know that it's going to work in practice, but again, like the UCF and West Virginia rosters were bare when those guys took over. Now they were able to get some of those guys to stay, but yeah, they're virtually bare. The West Virginia UCF game is really interesting, as you mentioned, because like I don't think Cincinnati Oklahoma State is going to be very competitive, but West Virginia UCF should be, and it's just an interesting quarterback game here with. I'm assuming Khalil Watkins will go for West Virginia. I really liked what I saw from a redshirt freshman when he played before he got hurt. He's a big dude. He's a truck, and I mean he was inconsistent throwing the football, but really like his ability to use his legs, being a truck. And then is it going to be Fancher or Taven Jackson? I think Jackson should be healthy enough to play. We're going to see Fancher, who started to play a little bit better last couple of weeks. UCF's Big 12 losses, so UCF seems to be ahead of the curve than West Virginia. UCF seems to be in better position than West Virginia is. Their 3 losses were extremely competitive. They just had red zone penalty issues, which you expect from a young, inexperienced team that didn't play together.
This game is tomorrow at the Bounce House in Orlando. It starts at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. West Virginia at UCF. That is the TNT HBO Max game. UCF favored by 7.5. Speaking of practice, Oklahoma State interim head coach Doug Meacham. They had the no-shirt guy. He went viral. Coach Meacham on what he needs from the Oklahoma State fans.
Again, I want to bring up the shirt guy. I thought it was his wife, his sister? Sister. Okay, and then when I saw some of the replay stuff, I realized that's not college kid. Right. 4 years old. Yeah, he had kind of some stuff I got going on. So it's amazing. I mean, to see that played back, and it's one guy, then it's 2, then there was 2 more show up, then it just went. That was pretty cool. Probably need to get his number. If he wants to come out to practice, hang out with us for a day or something, do something. That was awesome.
Have him come to practice, hang out. Said, yeah, I looked up there, thought I was a student, then I realized, no, that's not a student. Yeah, he's a 40-year-old guy.
He's got some of the same things I've got going on, is what he said, which is amazing. Yeah, that's probably the biggest storyline coming out of that game, quite frankly. Sam Jackson is expected to get another start. It's going to take a miracle for Oklahoma State to win a Big 12 game this year. And, they've got to fix it this offseason. But certainly I wouldn't expect their one conference win to come this week against the Cincinnati team that's out for blood.
Well, Cincinnati, I do think I don't think they can be as conservative as they were against UCF last Saturday. Like, they built a lead, kind of sat on the ball. Brendan Sorsby only threw it 18 times. And I say that only because they're going on the road. And with this viral no-shirt guy, it's not going to be a sellout in Stillwater. But the crowd, I think, will still be very much into the game.
By the way, speaking of 40-year-olds, did you see this since you and I are both 40 now? Thursday marked the first time ever a 40-plus-year-old starting pitcher, Max Scherzer, won in the MLB postseason, and a 40-plus-year-old starting quarterback, Joe Flacco, won in the NFL on the same day. That's from OptaStats. So let's go, 40-year-olds. First time in the same day that a MLB pitcher was 40-plus, won a postseason game on the same day as a 40-plus NFL quarterback winning a game.
40's the new 20.
40 is the new 30.
Truly. 30, yeah, I'll take that.
40's the new
I'll take it.
30.
All right, coming up next, let's dive into Baylor at TCU. That's a huge swing game in the Big 12 this weekend. He's Ariam James. We'll be picking these games here in about 15 minutes. We're dialed in to us via Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn and watching on Big 12 Studios. 8A to 11A Eastern Time right here on the channel. We're at Big 12 Men's and Women's Basketball Media Days next week. Talking football for the most part today, previewing some of these banger matchups for tomorrow, including a huge rivalry showdown between Baylor at TCU. Baylor coach Dave Aranda on what the rivalry means for these two teams.
Yeah, it is. It's a big recruiting rivalry. It's we have a bunch of former players that this means a lot to. Our guys that are on our team now remember last year. We got a fair amount of guys that remember a couple of years ago, when it was a field goal the other way. And so a lot of really tight games, competitive games. It's tough to play there. They're fired up for this one.
The Blue Bonnet Bowl?
Please don't say that.
Blue Bonnet Bowl?
Battle. Neither.
Battle?
TCU's dominated this series in recent history. Baylor is 2-10, rather 2-8 against TCU in their last 10. That includes 3 losses by more than 20 points, along with 6 one-score games. Baylor's last win in the series by more than 6 points occurred in 1994.
Wow.
So recent history suggests this is either going to be a TCU blowout or a close victory for Baylor, or I guess a close victory for TCU. But I would, to me, I feel like it's interesting. You look at some of the numbers from a quarterback perspective, and you could paint whatever picture you want to paint. You could say that Josh Hoover and Sawyer Robertson are two of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, but then you could also look and say, well, they've also had 2 of some of the worst plays and are making too many turnovers and are at least having too many throws that are turnover worthy. So in the same way that BYU Utah is very much the Spider-Man meme, I think these two are awfully similar too. They both have quarterbacks and passing offenses that can explode, but are also turnover worthy and turnover prone. They also have defenses that are not great and have not proven to be very good. I'd argue that Hoover's turnovers have cost them in 2 of their last 3 games against high-level opponents. And then Baylor on the other side, I mean, defensively, they've just been an absolute train wreck. TCU's secondary has not been as good as it probably should have been and should be, based on the personnel they have. So these are 2 awfully similar teams playing a game that TCU has absolutely dominated in the last decade.
Remember, last year's matchup went down to the wire, a walk-off field goal for Baylor to snap TCU's 3-game streak in the series, 37-34. It's an air raid showdown. Top 2 passing offenses in the Big 12, 2 of the top passing quarterbacks in the country. But last year's game came down to which team could run the football. And Bryson Washington had a monster game, well over 100 yards for Baylor on the ground. I look at turnovers. Baylor has a +5 margin on the year. TCU's -2. That was a big issue for TCU last year. TCU at home, or last week at Kansas State. TCU at home has been better. But remember, they struggled against Colorado. Colorado had a lead a good chunk of the first half. Josh Hoover threw a touchdown pass with 30 seconds to go to make it a 2-touchdown win for TCU. It was a 1-score game until the final minute of the contest. And it was this time last year that Baylor started to turn things around defensively. It was this exact week, a season ago, they went on the road and clubbed Texas Tech, 59-34, I think the final was. I know they had over 50 on the board. Can they do it? Is that this game this year for Baylor, who, if they win this game, all of a sudden I think their season trajectory looks very different, whereas I think TCU's kind of trying to survive to stay in the Big 12 championship picture. A Baylor win, I think, elevates them more than a TCU win would.
What's interesting, too, is this is probably the best offense that Baylor has played this year so far. And yet you look at the scores they've given up, James, and it's wild to think that that's the case here because their defense has really shown very little resistance. TCU has allowed at least 3 touchdowns to the opposing quarterback in 4 straight games now. They're the second worst pass efficiency defense in the Big 12. And that is to say nothing about Baylor and where they are statistically, which is basically bottom half of the league in every passing category. So again, Spider-Man meme here. Here's two teams that are awfully similar. Two high-powered offensive attacks going up against pass defenses that are not good. The TCU part, though, is concerning or confusing. They started off so good in their pass defense. It's like everything has devolved for TCU. Their running game was effective early in the season. Their defense looked really effective early in the season. And it looks like fool's gold right now. It's all back to being all on Josh Hoover now.
It's a game where, I do think it will come down to which defense can limit the explosives. We know there's going to be a lot of points in this football game. There's no doubt about that. Baylor defensively, that's where they've struggled. There were 4 chunk plays against SMU that was like 250 of the 400 yards that they allowed. TCU has 10 plays over 40 yards this season. So they're an explosive offense. That could be trouble for the Baylor defense. The other thing I look at is can they get pressure on Josh Hoover? TCU's offensive line is starting to sustain some injuries. Hoover completes almost 70% of his passes with a clean pocket, 41% completion rate when he's considered pressured. TCU's been much better at home, 4-1 at home this year. But there's a lot of, to your point, a lot of parallels between these two teams.
Yeah, and you mentioned the injuries to TCU's offensive line. Ryan Hughes, their starting left tackle's out for the year now. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think, to me, which team would I be buying who's on the upswing? I think that's Baylor. But that's historically when TCU seems to figure out a way. TCU's in the midst of a pretty disappointing season. I think both of these teams are in the midst of disappointing seasons. I mean, when we think about a few weeks ago, Bud Elliott had TCU as a team that could be a playoff team.
Yeah.
And now they're sitting there with, 2 losses already? Baylor, on the other hand, it feels like they've got far more losses than they actually have because they've been in situations where they've had to come back in multiple games against SMU and K-State to be in particular. But again, I mean, look at who Baylor's played from an offensive perspective. And that's where it's very concerning, right? I mean, Baylor hasn't played the best offenses. Like Auburn scored 38 on them. Auburn's offense has not looked very good since that game. SMU put 45 on them. Arizona State put 27 on them, which was the lowest scoring output they've had. Oklahoma State put 27 on Baylor's defense. K-State put 34 on Baylor's defense. So, to me, TCU's defense isn't good, but it's better than Baylor's defense. But I'll take Baylor's offense in terms of the trends versus TCU's, which has struggled, especially at quarterback against the 2 of the 3 best opponents they played the last 3 weeks.
What happened for TCU against Kansas State? 41-28. That was a low-scoring game until about midway through the second quarter, I think, is when the scoring broke open.
Well, it was the second quarter fumble. It was a screen pass they threw out to outside on the edge to Ed Small, and Small drops the pass, and he just keeps on, like it was like an incomplete pass. The problem was it was fumbled because it was a pass thrown behind the line of scrimmage in return for a touchdown by K-State. So kind of a fluky play, but it went from 14-7 to 21-7. Now fast forward to the third quarter, and Desmond Purnell has the pick 6 on Josh Hoover. Now it's 28-7. Well, now, if you're K-State, you can sit back and run the football because you've got a huge lead. That's what happened. I mean, they had 2 turnovers the second and third quarters that returned into points, and now a 14-7 lead goes 28-7 and the game's over.
Baylor's been the better team on third downs. Baylor's been the more balanced offense. 6 of the last 8 decided by 1 score or less. Is this a whichever team has the ball last wins type game?
Well, so if Baylor's down 28-7, there's a chance they can win that game. TCU's down 28-7, and they just get buried 42-17.
41-28, yeah.
So Baylor, to me, is the team that has the more likelihood to come back. They're both explosive passing offenses. Baylor probably has the better rushing offense. I give Baylor the nod because of that.
Bryson Washington was massive last year. Sawyer Robertson has been limiting his mistakes. And that's the other thing when I look at the quarterback comp. You've got Josh Hoover, who I thought was the best pure passer in this league until 2 weeks ago. The turnovers started piling up. He started to make some un-Josh Hoover-like mistakes, at least from what we've seen so far this year, where I think Sawyer Robertson is getting better. He had some sloppy throws against Samford in kind of a throwaway game. Against Arizona State, he had opportunities. Same thing for Auburn. But against Kansas State, I mean, he willed his team to a victory, made some big-time throws. I lean Baylor there offensively. So I think the Spider-Man meme is very appropriate. I would say Baylor's slightly better offensively, TCU's slightly better defensively based off what we've seen so far.
And I think, I mean, who would you rather have as your starting quarterback right now, Sawyer Robertson or Josh Hoover?
Robertson.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's huge. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us via Big 12 Studios. Coming up next, we are picking the games. We've got 5 Big 12 contests. We'll look at the spread. We'll make our picks, an update on the standings. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Exclusively on TuneIn. Tomorrow we've got Arizona at Houston right here on Big 12 Radio. You can listen to that one. Close line on that one. You're watching us via Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast Channel. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Taman Turner chimes in during this Pick'em segment. We're picking the games. We've been on a heater as of late. What are the standings?
Oh, sorry. You were looking for me.
I was.
There
he is.
Standings.
That's why I brought the basketball.
Throw
it at you.
Ari is 21-14.
Okay.
James is 21-14. Stormy is 12-24.
Okay.
Does that sound right to you?
That feels right.
Okay, good.
21-14 we are.
Why we left it up to me to calculate the standings every week is beyond me. I mean, I could barely walk and chew gum at the same time, okay?
Taman, you might need to take that over.
Not might. There's no might about it.
It's a pretty important role.
If you want these standings to be accurate, to accurately reflect our every week pick'ems, we're going to need somebody that's not me to do it.
Well, Stormy has somehow picked an extra game because he picks Oklahoma State, whether it's on the rundown or not. You and I, 21-14. That feels right. 35 games. Off to a pretty good start, though. We had some 5-0 weeks and then 0-5, and then since then we've been above 500. All right, Taman, take us through the games we are picking this week.
Starting off, Cincinnati at Oklahoma State.
You've pointed to me. The line is plus 22.5 for Oklahoma State, the home team here. Feels like a lot of points, but this is a Oklahoma State team that is dreadful. And I think a Cincinnati offense that's looking to prove itself yet again after a down week last week at UCF. Though 22.5 points, a lot to cover on the road, give me Cincinnati minus 22.5. I will eat those points.
Okay. I like Oklahoma State. I know Houston beat them 39-17 to cover the 21-point spread. I think Cincinnati builds a big lead, and then I think they sit on the ball, just like they did against UCF. They won 20-11. They were ahead 20-3 most of the game. I think Sorsby attempts anywhere from 15 to 20 passes. Maybe they're up 28-0 at halftime, but then Oklahoma State with a backdoor cover. I think Oklahoma State's going to be inspired by the no-shirt sensation in Section 215. I'm going with Oklahoma State to cover the 22.5. Stormy?
What's going on, James? James and Ari. All right, another week of college football and another week where Oklahoma State is going to suck. I hope not. Maybe they wake up and turn this entire season around. But they're giving them 22.5 points against Cincinnati. Who wouldn't take that? They are not going to lose by that much. They can't. They won't. Please? I'm taking OSU, 22.5.
Stormy Warren from the Big 615 joins us each and every week to make his picks. So you like Cincinnati, I like Oklahoma State. Taman, what's up next?
Texas Tech at Arizona State.
Tech's offense has been extremely explosive. Arizona State was just bludgeoned by Utah's ground game and faces another balanced attack here. So pick your poison. The status of Barrett Morton, does that matter much? With that being said, though, give me Arizona State plus 12.5 as a road dog here, as a home dog here. With Sam Leavitt returning, I expect the defense to play considerably better. I think Tech wins this game, but it'll be by closer than that. Now, remember, Tech has not won a game by less than 24 points so far this year. But I think this is it.
And remember, we take these lines from essentially where they open. We have to have our picks to Stormy early in the week so he can do his deep dive day after day research on all these programs. So we've got it at 12.5. The line has moved all the way down to 7.5. With all the injury news, with Sam Leavitt, with Barron Morton, he's questionable. Leavitt's probably going to play. I just think that 12.5 point line that was early in the week is way too steep. I'm banking on Arizona State's resilience, the home crowd, the noise, environment there, and then that injury drag. I think Sam Leavitt does enough to keep Arizona State in this football game. 12.5 is a lot of points, even for Texas Tech. So I like Arizona State as well.
Texas Tech at Arizona State, plus 12.5 for Arizona State. Texas Tech, can I make a bold prediction? Texas Tech may not only win the Big 12, they may be in a huge position to make a gigantic run deep into the playoffs. I told my son that they would actually win the Natty. I'm backing down of that. But I think Texas Tech is one of the strongest teams out there right now. They're blowing me away. Texas Tech wins this thing huge against Arizona State.
Backing down from Texas Tech being a national championship contender or winner, I'm ramping up. I look at the other teams like an Oregon losing to Indiana. I watch Ohio State. I watch some of these other programs, Miami. I think Texas Tech is very much going to be in the mix. All right, what's up next?
The Holy War, BYU and Utah.
It's really interesting, right? You look at this line, you're thinking, why is Utah favored when BYU is undefeated? Utah has the one loss to the best team they played all year, and this game's in Provo. Anytime I want to lean into a line and be like, oh, man, I'm taking BYU all day as the home dog, give me Utah to cover. Anytime I see a weird line like that, I want to go against my initial thought, and there's just something weird about that line. It's almost as if Vegas really wants you to bet BYU with Utah being a 3.5-point favorite. Look, I think Devin Dampier, his experience level, is he a great thrower of the football down the field? No, but Bachmeier has more opportunities, I think, for mistakes because he's a true freshman quarterback, and they are going to give him more opportunities to make mistakes down the field because they trust him with the offense. Give me Utah to cover 3.5 points in Provo.
Okay. We've got some Big 12 today and Big 12 studios discrepancies this week. I like BYU. The hook scares me here, the 3.5. I think this is a field goal game either way. I know Bear Bachmeier is a true freshman, but I lean more on him getting the ball to his receivers, Chase Roberts, Parker Kingston, the tight end Ryan, I think could be poised for a breakout game. And Utah's had trouble tackling in the secondary, which LJ Martin is a beast. I think BYU is going to try and win this football game with Bear Bachmeier attempting less than 20 passes. It's going to be super low scoring. BYU is 6-3 against the spread. The last 9 times that they've been a home underdog, I think they cover the spread here. If Utah wins this game, I think it's by a field goal or less. So I'm taking the Lavelle Edwards edge in Provo. Give me BYU.
BYU at Utah. This is a tough one. At Utah, the holy game. BYU at Utah. I'm going to take the Cougars. BYU. It's only 3.5. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Stormy's with me. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Taman, what's the next game?
Baylor at TCU.
I'm going to fade the public in this one and take Baylor plus 2.5. 69% of the picks are on TCU. And the public is riding the Frogs, so I'm fading the public here. Give me Baylor plus 2.5.
Yeah, I like Baylor as well. I think I keep going back to last year, and this was the week where they turned their season around. And I have seen signs that they're capable of doing that again with Bryson Washington, with Sawyer Robertson. I think the defense is just a few tweaks away from being significantly better. They've been decimated by explosives, and TCU is a very explosive offense. But I don't know that TCU will have enough to keep up with a Baylor offense that I just think could be unstoppable in this game. They hung 59 on the board this same week a year ago, off a bye week. They're off a bye week this year. I think they've cleaned some things up, and all of a sudden, if they win this game, they're 3-1 in Big 12 play. They're 5-2, and their season looks very, very different. I'm taking Baylor on the road.
Baylor at TCU. TCU giving up 2.5 points to Baylor. It's not going to be enough. TCU takes Baylor. TCU takes Baylor.
He says, one more game to get to. Who do we have, Taman?
Arizona at Houston.
Okay.
65% of the bets are on Houston, but only 27% of the money. So the smart money is on Arizona to win this game. Smart money, I suppose. Feels like Arizona is the better team, and they're getting 1.5 on the road. But I don't know. It's weird because it feels like Arizona's the better team, but I don't know why. Why does it feel like that? Arizona has a higher ceiling. Houston is just more consistent. Give me Arizona plus 1.5. This is a coin flip for me.
Okay. I'm all over Houston in this game, not just because I'm wearing my Houston Cougars t-shirt today on a casual Friday, but because their defense, I think, is much better than people give them credit for. They're top 20 analytically. They've got a top 15 passing defense. They have the leading tackler among all defensive linemen in the entire country in Carlos Allen. I think he makes life very difficult for Noah Fafita in this game. Arizona's just 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 road games, and I think there could be
good call,
an emotional letdown, hangover type thing going on for Arizona after that gut-wrenching loss to BYU. Meanwhile, Houston is trending up. They're quietly 5-1. Connor Wegman has put together a really nice season. He's going to have a big game for the Cougars, but I think at home, I think they get it done against Arizona and move to what would be 6-1 this season if Houston gets the dub.
Wildcats at Houston. Wildcats at Houston. This is a toss-up. This is a coin flip. I have no idea who to pick in this game, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick for the homers. Houston. No basis on it whatsoever other than it's a coin flip and Houston's at home. So that's it, guys. As always, go Pokes. Wish us luck for a long, slow, painful rebuild.
Thank you, Stormy. That is Stormy Warren from the Big 615. It's flight tracker season in Stillwater.
And?
So flight landing in Gainesville, Georgia today, which is just outside of Atlanta. Zach Robinson's the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. I don't know. Could be a coincidence. I'm not sure. It could. Let's circle back.
They really have to fly Zach Robinson in? Like, hey, yeah, you remember me. I used to be your quarterback.
I think Oklahoma State's flying to him.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, don't come to me.
Bringing in the closers.
That's right. Should we do our underdog of the week?
Yeah, do you have one?
Well, yeah, we do them every week, don't we? I mean, we actually won last week after going pretty dry for a good stretch of time.
Okay, I'll get mine. Why don't you take us through what happened last week?
Last week, James won big.
Huge.
James picked Bowling Green State, his second alma mater.
Did you say Bowling Green State?
Isn't what they are?
You definitely said that.
I think they're just Bowling Green now. Now, they used to be Bowling Green State.
They're not BGSU?
No, I think they're just BGU. Pudge the Cat, it's a whole thing.
I'm still going to call them Bowling Green State University. Yeah, they're still Bowling Green State University.
Officially Bowling Green State University. Yeah. There's a lot of programs, and by a lot I mean at least 2, that have a state on their official name, but when you refer to them, you're not supposed to say state. Bowling Green is one. The other,
Look,
Sam
I can't
Houston.
be responsible for all these willy-nilly rules that I don't know about.
Sam Houston is Sam Houston State. They've been Sam Houston State forever. Now they're just Sam Houston.
Bowling Green State, you had them at plus 11, and they won outright. The Fighting Eddie Georges won outright in their game. I had Mizzou plus 3.5. The hook is what got me a win there, but Alabama obviously beat Missouri. So I moved to 8 points on the season, 2 points for the cover. You got 6 points for an outright win. You do get 2 bonus points if you pick a Big 12 team to upset, and then you lose a point if you pick a Big 12 team and they lose or don't cover. So my upset of the week, my underdog of the week, is Louisville. 13.5 points against Miami. I think 2 touchdowns is far too much against a Louisville pass defense that's really good, and a Miami offense that hasn't. I mean, Miami's offense is not where they're the explosive. Miami's defense is legit. It's their offense that's major question marks for me. So, I think a not dominant Miami offense against a really good Louisville defense means there's no way that they win by more than 2 touchdowns here, 2 touchdowns. So give me Louisville plus 13.5.
I like it. Who do they play?
Miami.
Miami is very much overvalued. Okay. Sorry, Taman. I'm leaning Kentucky. Kentucky is plus 13 at home against Texas. Texas coming off that big-time emotional win over a beat-up Oklahoma team. They now go on the road to play a Kentucky team. The game is at Kentucky. Kentucky's coming off a bye. They just hung with Ole Miss 2 weeks ago. But the biggest metric in this game is all centered around Arch Manning. Out of 134 FBS quarterbacks that have dropped back at least 100 times this season, Arch Manning ranks 91st in adjusted completion percentage. He's had more turnover-worthy plays than big-time throws. Even though his touchdown-to-interception ratio is 12-5, he's thrown a lot of what would be picks, is basically what that says if they're not dropped or something else happens, a flag maybe. So if you take away Texas's blowout win over Sam Houston, they've only averaged 21 points per game from their actual offense. They've got some defensive touchdowns, some special teams plays to help them out. I think on the road at Kentucky off the bye, they cover the 13.
Throwing shots. I mean, look, Texas had a big win against Oklahoma. Arch Manning actually played really, really well. I think that that was a good reset rebound game for Texas. I think you're going to be wrong, and you'll eat those words, James.
Yeah, I mean,
Those words, okay.
the one thing you forgot about Kentucky is that they're bad.
Yeah,
they're
Take
So-
that.
bad.
So I just
How bad are they?
Thanks for defending me, Ari.
Find out. They're 2-3.
yeah, they're not good.
They're 2-3.
I'm going to hold you to that, James. Remember, I'm a very petty.
They're 2-3. They just played Georgia last time out. They almost beat Ole Miss. 2 of their 3 losses have been on the road. They've been much better at home. Okay, that's my pick. We're looking for a cover here, not an outright win.
Expect a text.
Oh, I'm
Just throwing that out there.
I'm sure I'll.
To the minute, to the second.
It's like he schedules these texts. Soon as the final horn hits triple,
You're
zero,
on to
he's
me.
firing it off. All right, coming up next year on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, man, Dion is doing something really cool at Colorado, and we'll dive into it. He's Ari, I'm James. You're listening to us via TuneIn. You're watching us via Big 12 Studios. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Well, that Texas Tech-Arizona State game is going to look a little bit different on Saturday because Arizona State is busting out their straight out of 1975 throwback uniforms for that game, which means Texas Tech will be dressed. They're going to wear the all-red set on the road, but Arizona State's got the throwback vibe going on for this weekend.
It's going to be stiff competition for Monday's Jersey of the Week. I'm not going to lie. You know, it's one of the most highly anticipated awards we give out on this show. And so, yeah, I mean, between what the Color Rush BYU Utah game we're expected to see and Arizona State's throwbacks, and yeah, should be fun.
Between Jersey of the Week and then your shoe game, which has just taken off since we've been on television, Big 12 Studios. I mean, where have those been? We have been doing shows together for over a year. Every day you're wearing like your lawn mowing shoes, sitting on this sweet collection of J's that you've been hiding from the public.
I don't mow my lawn. Don't be ridiculous. I mean, you have to up the shoe game now that we're,
Those are sweet.
Visually on a different level here.
I'm very jealous.
I'm not going to lie. You got to up your shoe game a little bit.
Apparently.
I mean, those look like you pulled them out of the trash.
Okay.
Are those Dunks?
Yeah, they're Dunks.
Yeah, they're a little overused.
Yeah, I wear them a lot.
You got to give them some little bit of TLC, maybe clean them a little bit.
I wear them a lot. I do that.
You don't have any J's, do you?
No, I'm very jealous. I've tried them on. They fit my foot like a glove.
Have you noticed that I've not worn the same pair of J's to 2 shows yet?
Yes.
I didn't want to point it out.
Like I'm envisioning at your house like a Patrick Mahomes type closet where you've got all your shoes.
Patrick Mahomes has an Ari Temkin type closet.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Get it right.
That's it.
I'm stretching though here. Like I'm gonna have to buy new shoes for me to actually continue.
How many pairs have you purchased in the last 2 weeks since we started?
0.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I'm really glad you brought this up because hopefully my wife is watching right now, Margot, because I'm the shopper of the two of us. My wife is not a big shopper, and so I'm hoping that she'll see this and be like, you know what, he does need some new J's. He should go out and buy some new ones.
Point of contention, the shoe game in the Timken household.
Well, I mean, shoes aren't cheap.
No, they're not.
And so when it's like, feed the kids or buy new J's, it's like buy new J's.
Duh.
Yeah, I mean, come on. What are we talking about here?
It's a no-brainer.
The kids will be fine. What doesn't kill them only makes them stronger.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
I subscribe to that. Hey, last year, James, we pointed out when Kenny Dillingham would go on social media and basically talk about his players that were entering the portal or I mean, Kenny Dillingham did a really good job of creating an environment where the best players played and the guys that didn't get to play would be given opportunities to show off their skills and get recommendations from Kenny Dillingham very publicly, which is something we don't usually see, right? You don't hear a lot of coaches sticking up for guys that are potentially entering the portal or not. Coaches want to protect their own depth, whatever. We just don't hear coaches doing that. Well, Deion Sanders has taken that to a whole nother level. Take a listen to Deion Sanders here.
Like that. A lot of you guys that don't get to play, you don't get your chance today. All right, this is your chance because I'm not crazy enough to think that all of you gonna be in this room next year. Some of you gonna jump in the portal. This is an opportunity for you to get some portal film. Okay, so I'm the kind of coach that's gonna make sure we cut it, hype it up, give it to you however you want it, and make sure you're looking good in your portal tape. So this is some of you guys that don't get to play. They're planning on jumping. You already have made up your mind you're jumping. So I'm just trying to help you jump. Okay. The rest of you guys are planning on just staying here, roughing it out, doing your doggone thing. I want you to get you some good tape, get you some good film so you can assess yourself. And you all should be watching yourself practice. You all should be watching yourself to see how you go about, to see what improvement you need, what you got to work on. But this is your day. I think we got cheerleaders for you today. I don't know if we got band members. I know they're trying. But I'm trying to get the whole shebang to make you have the feeling that it's game day for you. So when you come out there, it's game day. You're going to have your own stretch, right? They stretching. You got to stretching them separately. The rest of you guys is playing, practicing. We got to have a good practice today to end this thing. but you're going to stay your butt here, don't leave, and support your teammates. Coaches, main staff, we going up top to watch them. Don't be around them. Let the rest of the coaches support staff. You guys got this today. Everybody got this. Make sure they run it on and off the field as we do in the game. We're going to have everybody on the one side of the field, far side. Chili's going to be on the near side. So you're going to do your thing. Have a great day today. You guys that's playing in the game, get your minds right.
All right, so there's Deion talking to his team, and basically they set up a scrimmage for the bench players to play and film, and then staff members of Colorado are going to cut up the film so that they can have it to help prop them up when it comes to the transfer portal. This is a incredible awareness on the part of Deion Sanders, but it's also twofold. So number one, what does it say to all the team? What does it say to the guys that may have already made up their mind on entering the portal? Hey, maybe I shouldn't. I mean, look at Deion looking out for me, caring about me. Because when you play and you're one of the starting 11 or a guy that's part of the rotation, part of the two deep, you know that Deion cares about you. But when you're deeper on the bench, do you know that Deion cares about you and cares about what happens to you? Do you think that? And you may have gone through the entire season and not concerned yourself with that, thought he had way bigger fish to fry, things going on, and he does. But this shows some love to guys that probably didn't see much love from Deion this season. So it works that way. It also works, how about the staff? This gives them good film to look at and be like, hey, this is a guy we haven't really spent a bunch of time looking at or playing, but he really flashed in this game, right? So it may entice a guy that thought about entering the portal to not enter the portal and may become a huge piece to the team in future seasons. And even give him the confidence to think, hey, it wasn't a fun year for me. I didn't play as much as I wanted to, but now I'm on the coach's radar. And then, of course, the most obvious side of this, which is, that Deion is legitimately putting together and having his staff and the administration. And, I mean, he said the cheerleaders will be out there, the band, like they're trying to really create an environment where it looks like and feels like they're playing in a game. And so, I mean, the most obvious, like there's the two parts. There's, hey, Deion cares about me. Maybe I shouldn't enter the portal. Hey, maybe the coaching staff finds some guys, some diamonds in the rough they didn't realize were good players. And then three, the most genuine, which is, hey, here's some film for you guys to have that you can then use to help you in the portal.
Yeah, this is amazing. And I'm a huge fan of the inspirational music bed that they had playing underneath it. Like, it felt like I just watched the ending of Pursuit of Happiness. Like, I'm emotional. This is a moment for Colorado. And this is super cool.
Where the roads go, only time. Like some Enya.
Yes.
Anytime Enya comes on, I just start crying. I don't even know why.
I might listen on my way home.
Yeah.
Feeling emotional.
You would be a closeted Enya fan.
1,000 closet. No, I was at her concert last week. But like, this is a thing that's not just about development and his team getting better. Like I lean into the relationship aspect of it. In a very transactional era of college football, this is relationship building. And this is a live audition for these guys that are leaning towards the transfer portal. I also think, sure, you could find who really stands out, and then you could also find, if you're Colorado, who you maybe shouldn't bring back next year. I mean, Deion has overhauled his roster less as much this past off season compared to his first couple of years when they had over 70 players in and out. But they've ranked top 5 nationally in transfer additions, top 10 nationally in outgoing transfers each of the last 3 seasons. So that's going to be a thing again this offseason. So maybe they find some hidden gems within their program, but also the guys that they are going to encourage to play at a different school next year, those guys have tape. And that's not just leaving a kid, to your point, high and dry, all alone, with no way to shop himself. This is incredible. Of all the Deion things, like this might take the cake.
Well, and it just is a very high level of awareness. There's so many coaches that we hear constantly complaining about the state of college football. Oh, we got to deal with the transfer portal. We're constantly having to re-recruit our own kids and then money and blah, 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 blah. And, like, here's Deion wrapping his arms around what most other coaches perceive as a major issue. Hey, I'm at the point of my year right now where guys might be checking out, where I've got to account for guys that haven't been playing much, that are probably thinking about entering the portal, and that can seep into the culture and the chemistry of your roster, right? I mean, those are guys that are, though they're not playing much, are still a part of the team. They're at dinners, they're traveling, they're roommates. Like, the negativity they may have about the team and their lack of involvement in the team, which can be a natural human instinct, can seep into the success of a program, can seep into a mediocre program and turn them into a bad situation, right? So this is a high level of awareness of, let's just attack this head on. Like, here's a situation that is absolutely happening across all of college football. Every college football team has guys right now that are thinking they're going to enter the portal after the season. They know it. They're not playing enough. They've got a raw deal, whatever. They don't like the coaches, whatever it is. There are guys right now in every roster that are thinking about entering the portal. Deion's getting out in front of it and attacking it head on. Hey, I know you're thinking about entering the portal. Here's an opportunity for you to showcase yourself and do so in a way that will give you a chance to have success in the portal. It is a extremely high level of awareness and attacking a problem that most coaches perceive as a problem head on and turning it into a solutions-oriented type thing.
The other aspect of it that I think it's really going to help Colorado is as a recruiting tool for guys that might be future Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah.
And Deion has said before, we're not collecting talent, we're building a team. This is a team type thing. There are players out there at other schools all across the country that might be considering, hey, maybe I go in the portal after this year. Colorado all of a sudden becomes very attractive because that student athlete knows that if things don't work out at Colorado, they will help me get to another home. Whereas all the promises that are made when it comes to the recruiting and the market and the landscape that schools simply cannot fulfill, Deion is doubling down on his transparency and the way he operates his program. That, hey, if you come to Colorado and maybe you don't have the season that you thought you would have, or you don't get the playing time that you think you might get, we will help you find a new home. We're not just going to kick you out and you're on your own. That has to be very attractive to guys that will be in the portal come January 2nd or whatever the official date is now.
One of the things you hear a lot about, like, modern society is there's no loyalty. Nobody's loyal. I think one of the other parts that's true about society today is there's a lot more transparency in all things. People are looking for a lot more transparency. Like, you look at like 40, 50 years ago and like things just happened and people didn't talk about things outwardly. Like, it was very much culturally how things were in our society, right? Like, think about a lot of kids our age and older that grew up that, like, their parents didn't have tough conversations with them or things they tried to shield them away from. Now there's way more collaboration in that kind of stuff. There's a lot more transparency. This is like the ultimate transparency. Kenny Dillingham did the same thing last year, not holding a scrimmage, but being transparent about, like, hey, guys are going to leave. And there's positives about all these guys that for some reason have not been able to crack our rotation yet, but that doesn't mean that they can't find opportunities elsewhere by different coaching staffs that may see skill sets that they have that may bring the best out of them. So to me, this is like people think, oh, there's no loyalty in society today. Well, there's a lot more transparency, and I think this is a product of that.
When is this scrimmage? That's what I'm trying to look for. And this, like, you hit it. This isn't just like a practice. Like, they're going to have cheerleaders. They're encouraging the players that won't be playing in this scrimmage to be really loud so it has a big game type feel for these guys. It looks like it just happened via Grant Speaks, who's very tied to the Colorado program, said that he hosted a transfer portal scrimmage for some of the Colorado players. And those guys got to scrimmage. They got their film. This is amazing. Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff.
I'm assuming it happened this week.
Yeah. All right, coming up next year on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio via TuneIn. Also watching us on the Big 12 Fast channel via Big 12 Studios. It is the segment of all segments. We always wrap up each and every Friday with this could have been an email. Ari gets to complain about stuff that could have been an email here on Big 12 Radio. Radio, exclusively on TuneIn. If you missed any of our guest interviews from all throughout the course of the week, including Pete Nakos from On3 or Spencer Linton from BYU TV, our guests today, you can find those via wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, right here, TuneIn on demand. We're also streaming live and archived via Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast Channel, airing on Roku, Amazon Prime, DirecTV, YouTube, Samsung, many other avenues. Big 12 Media Days next week for basketball. We'll be up in Kansas City Tuesday and Wednesday, get in Monday, and then this Saturday, tomorrow, you can catch the Big 12 Radio Game of the Week, Arizona at Houston, right here on the channel via TuneIn. It is the final chapter of the week. Ari, we hit the This Could Have Been an Email segment. It is your favorite.
Yeah, it's the biggest stories of the week that probably could have just been an email instead of being as overplayed as they've been. And email, subject line. North Carolina football goes from bad to worse. Pablo Torre finds out is a Pablo Torre vidcast, podcast, where the former ESPN reporter is uncovering some very interesting stories of the sports world, including the dynamic that's going on in North Carolina. He's reporting that North Carolina GM Mike Lombardi left the team in August, 2 weeks before the season opened, in order to fundraise for them in Saudi Arabia. So Michael Lombardi, on behalf of North Carolina football, is looking for funds to support North Carolina football in Saudi Arabia. And then Pablo Torre, as if that wasn't enough, released some video clips that show the relationship between Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick in relation to Inside the Walls at North Carolina University and the football program.
A little behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes look from the now defunct TV show that was being produced, in which they're going through a game plan, and Jordan Hudson is questioning some of the parts of the game plan that are at least how they're being portrayed to the team. So it's like, here's a PowerPoint with bullet points of like, keep them out of the end zone. And she's like, do we really need to say that? And then he has to explain why they have to say that.
No.
Dude, it's bad.
So this is her and him sitting down together, going over what they're going to show
the coaching staff and her, 24-year-old offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, analyst.
And she's criticizing how they frame the wording, and Bill Belichick is explaining to her why it's important to share that with the team.
Yep. Yeah. So, subject line. It's bad. Real bad. But again, something that we probably could have predicted and maybe did before the season started. Now we're just getting the specifics of it. I do not think there is any way that this continues beyond this season. I think Bill Belichick will make it to the end of this season, but there is absolutely no way that he's back for a second season.
No. I'm not sure he's going to make it till the end of this season. I'm not sure he's going to make it to the end of October.
They play Cal this weekend, I believe.
Yeah, they've got Cal at Cal. It's actually tonight.
I actually thought about this as my underdog of the week, by the way.
As North Carolina?
Yeah. And then I remembered all this stuff.
Right. They've lost 2 in a row. They got beat 34-9 by UCF. Then Clemson waxed them 38-10. After Cal, they play Virginia at home. Then they play at Syracuse. Those are their 3 games left in the month of October. I don't know what the financials are, the buyout. It's very clear he won't be back next year. I'm not sure he makes it to the end of the month.
The 30 for 30 that is going to be produced on this whole experience is going to be wild. But, I mean, just to think about, like, go back and look at just everything that's come out, the magazine shoot and cover, you know, the book release interview. That, I mean, this is just scratching the surface of this dynamic. So, yeah, it definitely could have been an email. Michael Lombardi left North Carolina to fundraise in Saudi Arabia, and Jordan Hudson's involved in game planning, literally, with North Carolina football coaching staffs. Bill Belichick has won how many Super Bowls?
However many Tom Brady won when he was in New England.
6.
He's got a 24-year-old girlfriend that's taking over his staff meetings.
Like this
He won 6 Super Bowls. He's got a 24-year-old who wasn't even alive for all 6 of them, leading staff meetings.
When did Pablo Torre become like TMZ Sports?
It's happened the last couple years.
Like, he's all over this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's been all over the Bill Belichick stuff.
Yeah. He's on it.
Just a quick little nugget here. Please don't hire Bill Belichick to be in the media. Please. I beg of you. Which camera am I on? That one?
No,
Please.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Please, I beg of you. Please don't do it.
No, he's wow.
You think he'll ever make an appearance with Monday Night Football with Peyton and Eli after this?
I think he has.
Yeah, it's like
but after this, after his North Carolina,
I don't know. I think he'll hide out for a couple of years.
Will Jordan allow it?
I just can't believe.
I mean, if they're still together.
This guy.
He's got his entire real estate portfolio.
I mean, at this point, how could they not still be together? Like, if you're Bill Belichick at this point, you've made it. Like, you've been through this train wreck of a season. Like, you might as well stick through it.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be on Bill's side, but I think she's out. Eventually. I don't know. Maybe not.
She'll find another
Wait.
72-year-old.
Wait.
Right.
Are you suggesting it's not true love?
No, Ari, I'm not. Age is just a number.
It's just a number.
You know that. This could have been an email. Probably it could have been an email, but it would be an email that we talk about because I'm excited. Have you heard about the Age of Disclosure documentary? It's coming out in November.
Heard about it. Come on. I produced it.
Okay, so you know what's going on here.
You know I'm all over the alien life stuff.
Headline
you know I'm all over.
of the email, aliens are real.
Yeah.
We have the proof.
I mean, we've had the proof, James. I brought the proof to the show multiple times.
This is going to be the documentary of all documentaries, okay? This is it. This is the moment. An 80-year global cover-up of non-human intelligent life. And we're talking about some heavy hitters in this documentary. We're talking about senators. We're talking about task force heads. We're talking about former DNI. We're talking about the technology arms race, which was going to be the first country to crack alien tech to become dominant. We're talking about nuclear facilities being penetrated by unknown crafts, UFOs, aliens. It's here. This documentary hits November 17th, and it will slap.
Well, I mean, for a long time, any person that claimed to have seen aliens,
they were muzzled.
Not only that, they were viewed as being hillbilly, non-credible, crazy people, right? I mean, is that fair?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Within the last decade, there have been a lot of very credible people, military personnel, high-level intelligence, politicians, that have been saying some of the things that we heard from the crazies in the back 4 or 5 decades ago. So it has gone way more mainstream now than it ever was. There was probably a point in time where the government keeping this information from the population was a good idea, but that time has passed. We just talked about this is the age of transparency, and this is certainly something to be transparent about. But again, I think probably a point in time where it was fine to cover this stuff up to keep it from the public. You could argue that, whether or not it's true.
Mm-hmm.
But within the last decade, I think it's more and more of a public safety hazard. And not only that, but like we're probably better positioned as a humanity to understand this kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, too. A former intelligence official claims he's seen alien crafts and beings with his own eyes.
Well, this is part of the story I think we talked about too when some of the stuff started to become public, where they were talking about like high level military intelligence that had seen aircrafts or beings of other species that had been here that we actually currently have. Like I forget who it was, but basically like a Marine Corps or some level of intelligence. It's like, yeah, we currently are in possession of multiple aircrafts that are of alien extraterrestrial activity.
Yeah, so the producers are those two journalists who broke that 2017 New York Times story that was revealing the Pentagon's secret UFO program. It's 109 minutes. It drops on Prime Video November 21st.
Imagine what they know about us.
What they know about humans?
Yeah.
They probably.
Oh, I thought you meant me and you. Like, what, that I don't help out enough around the house? That I've got a now very inflated dinosaur in my front yard?
That's upright?
It's very upright.
No, like, imagine what the aliens know about us.
They probably think we are one messed up species.
Yeah, I think they laugh at us. Probably laugh at us.
Laugh at us. Probably think we're stupid.
Probably.
Definitely that.
I mean, we are relative to their
We
level
think
of intelligence.
yeah, we think, like...
They got to our planet. We didn't get to theirs.
I'm speaking to the alien overlords right now. See this face? It's a friendly face here. You see that face?
They're really
not a friendly face. Take him out.
They're really stirred up about NIL. They are up in arms about NIL. They think the Colorado transfer portal scrimmage audition's pretty cool, but NIL, now's the time to step in.
You're going to need sports commentary in your alien overlord world, okay?
You know, the lead singer of Blink-182 went, like, completely bankrupt because he spent millions and millions of dollars on his own, like, UFO, uncover, alien world staff. Yeah, look it up. It's a real thing.
What's his name?
Tom DeLonge.
Yeah. He's broke now because of this?
Yeah, he's pretty broke.
We need a...
Government got in there. Maybe the aliens themselves.
That's why aliens think we're stupid. We didn't pass their test.
And then after he left Blink-182, he kind of formed his own band, Angels and Airwaves, and a lot, like all their songs have this kind of alien vibe to them. There's a lot of alien talk. He's all in on the aliens.
I mean, who isn't? James, where have you been, okay? I've been placating to our alien overlords for years now.
You keep saying overlord.
James, is Ari an alien?
Good. Yeah, To the Stars is what it was called. It's been operating at a pretty significant deficit, billions of dollars in fundraising, and then a lot of his own Blink-182 money. Whoop, down the drain.
This could have been an email. Big Ten private equity deal gets pushback from Michigan.
Shocked by that.
But, I mean, the email subject line could have been private equity once again strikes out within college athletics. I think the more information that we're starting to have about private equity's involvement in college athletics, the more and more it feels like it doesn't make any sense. The quotes from Jordan Acker, who is a member of the Board of Trustees at Michigan, are basically like, yeah, he said, quote, when selling our equity, enough is enough. The Big Ten has expanded 4 times, adding 7 schools in the last 14 years. On each of these occasions, we were told that the new revenue would be enough to cover soaring expenses. We were told we had to do this, a football title game, more basic cable fees, adding Los Angeles, adding a West Coast wing. I'm glad these institutions are part of our league. I really am. However, here we are trying to solve the same old problem with a new and this time rushed solution.
So Big Ten and USC at the front of, hey, come on now, we don't need this. We don't need this.
Well,
we don't need this.
But I think to Acker's point, it's just like, hey, we've been told multiple times that this will be enough to cover the soaring expenses, and like enough is enough. Like, it's never going to be enough because you're just going to continue to push the kick the can down the road. Also, like, hard no for me on expanding my media rights till 2046. Like, that is, are you serious? Aliens could have taken over the world by 2046. 2046? Like, what?
We'll be approaching retirement.
We'll
be in our 60s.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Technically, I'll be in my 50s. Just throwing that out there.
I don't take me. Young pup over there. Are you guys going to join me next Friday in Casual Friday?
No.
This was kind of your idea.
It's Casual Monday, bro.
Casual Monday.
Who doesn't know Casual Mondays?
Circle back to that. Casual Monday. Taman, are you all in next Friday, Casual Friday?
It's definitely the goal.
Go Cougars.
Go Cougs.
Preseason champs.
There you go. Hakeem Olajuwon.
Men's basketball.
Let's do
it. You would.
That's a huge game against Arizona tomorrow. It's going to put a wrap on this week's edition of Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Reminder, you can catch Arizona at Houston tomorrow right here on Big 12 Radio via TuneIn. It is our game of the week. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling for Taman, our wonderful producer. We'll be at Big 12 Basketball Media Days, 2 full days of coverage next week from the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. You've been listening to Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. You've been watching us on Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast Channel. We'll talk to you Monday. Enjoy the games.